welcome to Metal Wani. With us, we have German thrash giants, Exumer's frontman, Mem, with us. How are you doing, Mem?
Good. How are you?
I am doing good. Holiday season happening very close, and the new album, The Raging Tide, is just a month and a half away from the release. So, how's the band feeling, and how does it suck to wait for this waiting period of 30 days till the album comes out? It must be a horrible feeling, isn't it?
Actually, it's not bad because we kind of like we enjoy that people are kind of anticipating it.
Uh-huh.
We have a lot of good a lot of positive reactions so far.
Hmm.
So it's kind of it builds up the excitement and the curiosity and the whole vibe is actually really positive. So it would be different if we would have like mixed reactions, but so far everything's been very positive. So we're very happy.
That's amazing. And you guys released the title track, The Raging Tides. And how has been the response from fans, keeping in mind that many of the fans, of course, expect, going back to the 80s, the classic two albums. So is that something you've come across, any sort of a response when you released the Raging Tides single?
I think a lot of people recognize our signature sound in those two in that tune.
Right?
So I think people have responded positively because we didn't try to rewrite the book on thrash metal,
Right.
but rather we stuck to what we do best
Hmm.
and perfected what we do. And I think people hear that they can hear that in the riffs, they can hear that in our approach and songwriting style and everything.
Absolutely, and you guys are back with the bang. I mean, I was listening to the album from last few days, and words cannot describe how I, as a thrash metal fan, or I'm not talking about as an Exumer fan because that'll end up being a fanboy. So to be on on an honest level, I loved the album, and I'm really happy to see the relentless aggression that is present in it. But for you guys, how happy are you with the fan?
Yeah, we're very extremely pleased for how it turned out, and the end result is exactly what we wanted.
Hmm.
We stick to 3 minute, 4 minute songs
Right.
that get to the point quick, and we try to hit people hard and fast. Sort of like when we approach live shows, we want to come out with the most possible energy that we can deliver, and that's why we're very happy the way this record turned out. We did have two mid-tempo songs on this record to spicing things up,
Right.
and we will also play them in our live sets. So it turned out to be really good for us.
That's cool. I mean, you guys have, I think, taken enough time to work on this album and obviously evolve as musicians over the period of time. And I can clearly hear the effort, the amount of focus that has been put into this album. So that must be something which is really refreshing for you to give it more time to breathe and evolve.
Yeah, I mean, we try to do just Exumer when we get together and work on what we call projects,
Right.
whether it's a live project, a tour, an album. So we shut down everything else in our lives and just work on this. So the intensity of our work schedule when we put the time into the music, I think reflects in the outcome, whether it's a live show or a record. And so it pays off to really, really put a lot of energy into what we do.
Hmm.
We do have other interests that we follow as well, and but when we do Exumer, then Exumer is what we
Purely
do,
Exumer.
nothing else. And I think that works out really well.
That's really amazing. I mean, that's exactly what fans expect. I mean, there are amazing riffs on this album, and when one ends, the other riff starts. So and it's mixed with some crushing solos from Ray as well. So in terms of arrangements as well, I felt there's a lot of time been spent to make sure it doesn't sound redundant, but it's really fresh and aggressive and has its own Exumer vibe, which has been evolved over the period of 80s, 90s, and now.
Yeah, I mean, what we try to do is what we tried to do with this record was to take the best aspects of Fire and Damnation
Hmm.
and perfect them and improve upon them and do something that sounds still fresh. Metal Blade gives us the opportunity to um, not release records in cycles that are like every 2 years, but
Yeah.
they leave us alone. And then when we're ready, they are ready, and I think it pays off because what we want to avoid is that our sound sounds forced, or we want to make it sound as effortless as possible
Right.
with the most amount of energy and free flow, and that's key. And I think we accomplished what we wanted to do on this with that kind of vibe, with this kind of freedom that we have.
Right, and as always, the conceptual side of your music is something which I, as a person, appreciate. I mean, the lyrical approach is more towards the problems which let's say humans are facing, be it about the religious or the political or genocide or whatever. But you've captured the essence of the Exhumer sound along with this lyrical approach, which makes it even more compact.
Yeah, I mean, it really boils down to kind of, you know, how can I describe it? It feels, if you put the most honest foot forward
Mm-hmm.
and stick within the parameters that you have that you can work with, I
Right.
think that's the best thing that works out really well for us. Uh, without trying to, doing something that's outside of our league or outside of our capacity or ability as musicians. So we always try to stick to what we know best.
Ah, that's really cool. I mean, it's the next step in your career, obviously. And I wish, I always wish that you guys would have carried on after the first two albums because the momentum was really amazing with the impact the first two albums made. And I'm sure, I mean, and you would agree with this, that Exhumer would have basically received a much in-depth and more critical and fan base recognition as compared to how the band started during your time as well.
So if I mean, I think the fans can definitely hear that we stick to our roots from the '80s,
Hmm.
and we try to carry that spirit and the feeling of aggression and youth into what we do now.
Right.
If we would have, who knows what would have happened if we would have stayed together in the '80s, but we didn't. So it kind of like, again, we don't record records to pay the rent.
Right.
We record them out of love and well because we love what we do.
Mhm.
And so I think, the way everything turned out with, having two cult records or, yeah, uh, these legendary records, if you will, out in the '80s
Right.
that have a certain status now, and then come back and do something that still sounds fresh it works really in our favor, And we don't know what would have happened if we would have stayed together, but I think the people that are interested in the band now, I think it's a cool thing for them to go back and check out what we used to do
Yeah.
in
Right.
1986, '87, and vice versa.
Absolutely. I mean, I still spend possessed by fire and it still sounds fresh to me. And I have the same feeling about Raging Tides as well. It has the same essence in terms of longevity. Like, I listen to some albums which after a year still sounds fresh. So I really feel the same with the Raging Tide that it has that in it which can enhance the longevity of this album down the road.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to agree with that. I mean, we set out when we write records, we know that they're there for eternity. They're forever.
Right.
So you have to have that in mind. As much as we want them to sound effortless, we also want to have the most quality product out there that we can come up with, you know.
Absolutely.
So when we write these riffs and when I write these lyrics and come up with the concepts of things, I'm very, very conscious of that it has to, you know, be forever, you know. So you want to go back 10 years from now and say, hey, this is still a kick-ass record. And we have that in our, you know, in the back of their minds, we have that definitely.
That's cool. And while writing Raging Tides, did you try to, had those, you revisit the past and remember those days, and kind of get that inspiration from them to make it work even more, make this album even more better than what you guys have done in the past?
Um, the way we look at the things that we did in the past is more we look at what makes our sound, right? So what are the qualities that people check us for? And we take those qualities and these vibes and the spirit of that and put it into our new work.
Hmm.
And I think that worked out really well for us. And you know, we don't try to recreate things. We just kind of look at the positive aspects of our work from the 80s. And you know, I'm a different person. When I recorded Possessed by Fire, I was 17, 18 years old. Now I'm almost 48, you know. So 30 years have passed. So I can't be that same guy.
All right.
But I remember how I felt and how much passion I had for the music. So I try to not lose that. And that's how we approach these records, you know.
That's amazing. I mean, I still feel that there are bands who still have in them to continue. I mean, Exumer is one example. Over the period of time, how you guys have evolved. I mean, Overkill is another example. They're just not
Right.
stopping at all. So, over the period of time, you've seen all the bands coming in from Germany, like the German thrash, Teutonic, what we say, and the
Yep.
and the Big Four and stuff. So, over the period of time, some of the American scene is kind of drenched down with more into the melody and more like a hard rock sound, and whereas the German scene still were consistent with Creator, or let's say
Right.
Soulful, or you
Right.
guys as well. So I just don't seem to understand what happened during this phase.
I think, you know, I think everybody kind of tries to experiment with things if they wanna do create new things. I think the German bands are quite content with, you know, the scene in Germany is very traditional,
Right.
and we come from that mindset of, like, you know, you want to keep up that tradition. So Sodom will never play any hard rock songs.
Yeah.
You know, they won't,
No radio
because
friendly songs.
no, no. So, and there's a reason for that. So, and the reason is they want to keep up the tradition of what they created. They were part of that thing. So it makes total sense. Whereas, you know, in the States, and I live here in the States, so it's different. You know, people here are you know, it's very much a flavor of the month club over here, so what I
Right.
call. So maybe sometimes some other bands feel like they have to do something else in order to appeal to people here. I don't know, but we don't have to do that at all. I mean, we have our fans, and
Dedicated
yeah,
fans.
yeah, and they're dedicated. They've been with us for 30 years. I don't need to have millions of new fans, you
Yeah.
know. I mean, the people that love us, they love us. I mean, you see, I think with our new record, our fans will love us even more.
Mhm.
So that's more important to me than having like 5,000 new fans that then are not going to be around next time
Right.
you know. So that you want to build slow and steady is the
Wins
name
the
of the game.
race.
Yeah, yeah.
Awesome.
That's
And
it.
I also know that you guys have a tour planned ahead. So when
Yes.
is it? What is the plan of taking this album live? This has to be unleashed. This is what it's meant to do, to play the songs live, isn't it?
Yes. Right when the album drops, January 29th, we will hit the road in Europe for 2.5 weeks, and we're gonna play about 5 new tracks and figure out which of these tracks work the best,
Right.
and then come out with a festival set, which is a shorter set, and a headlining set afterwards.
Right.
But the people that come out to the shows in at the end of January are the first ones to hear the most music of the new album. Yeah.